Good morning, everyone, and welcome. This is going to be the gold sponsored sessions for Dare to Be Great for Era of the Headset. And I'm excited to have my good buddy here, Doug Showalter of Showalter and Company. And he's going to be doing a session called Doing Time in Dispatch. Take it away, my friend.
All right. Hey, thanks a lot, Ricardo. I appreciate that. And we're so honored to be here and presenting today. So kind of a nice thing out there. And you just missed the other half of Showalter and Company. She had to go to work today, but she was right here with me. So, but we're going to get this thing kicked off. First off, a couple of quick notes about before we get started is today is Pearl Harbor Day. So please take a moment of your day and kind of think about the folks that gave up everything for our freedom that we have today. The other thing is, if you saw my class the other day on dispatching during civil unrest, I talked about how secure is your parking lot. For your benefit, go check out Rialto PD in California. Go check out their Facebook page because they had a shooting inside their parking lot yesterday. So go take a look at that. I told everybody, your parking lot, your building's only as safe as you make it. So go take a look at that. All right, so today's class is called is called Doing Time in Dispatch, because a lot of people act like it's a darn prison. You hear people say, "Oh my God, I gotta go to work," and I'm like, "Are you crazy, folks?" It's like we can be fine. We can go to work. It doesn't have to be a bad place. It can be a good place. It's not prison. We don't need parole, but we definitely need to work on our doing time in dispatch, having a good time out there. So if you don't know who I am Doug Showalter of Showalter and Company, and for 30 years I worked for the California Highway Patrol, which is pretty awesome. And the California Highway Patrol at that time had 26 communication centers up and down the state of California, from our largest, which is in LA, to a bunch of them scattered around the state. And I've worked in about 10 different ones, from the largest, like I said, in LA, to some of the smaller regional centers we had all over the place. And I was also asked to take over the state training program up in Sacramento, because if you know anything about our agency, that anywhere you get hired in California from the Highway Patrol, you're immediately sent up to our academy, and you spend first time is 3 weeks up there learning the job. We talk all about policy procedures. When I was in charge of it, we wrote new policies. We redone our DORs. We redid training. And we really took our training to a different level up there. And when I left there several years ago now, wow, and retired, I moved to Tennessee. Now it's where I live, just outside of Nashville right now, which is great. And we started our own company back in 2015, but for about 15 years or so, I have trained all over this great country, all over the place, did many, many small agencies, many large agencies, all over the place. And all of our classes, with the exception of dispatching during civil unrest, which is all about my experiences, most of our other classes are all built on business world. What's working in the business world, and how can I bring it into our world? You'll see some of that today, because I'm going to show you some stuff today that I bet you thought, I never thought that guy had anything to do with telecommunications or our business, but it's true. Just listen carefully for the messages. And that's what I'm talking about. A lot of people get stuck on, well, I got to do this or get it, but you're missing the message. The message is that we're doing some great stuff out there. That's the message we're getting. And I'm going to bring some stuff from the business world into our little world out there right now. So, all right. So before I get started, one quick thing is our We Speak Dispatch podcast. My God, we had 20,000 podcast plays as of last month in 36 countries. We were all over the place. It's a small, like 15-minute little program. It's on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, TikTok, and even on every single podcast platform you could think of. Just go look it up, We Speak Dispatch. And if you want to be on it, like some of you have already been on the show, let us know. We'll bring you on. We have a lot of fun with these things. So it's a great way to get your message out to a lot of people. So a big thing out there. All right. So I always start this class off with a question. Who is responsible for our senators' morale and motivation? Now, I will tell you, I don't know what order you're seeing this in, but I had to follow Dominique with her keynote this morning. And man, that was a motivational tool right there. She really motivates people. So, but I ask everybody, who is actually responsible for your senators' morale and motivation? Who is it? Is it your commanders? Is it your bosses? Is it your secretary? Who is it? Who is the person in charge of your motivation and your morale at your center? When you have poor morale, do you blame it on somebody else? Well, it's because of them, or it's because of that person, whoever it might be. But I always tell people, you know what? We're all responsible for it. Every single one of us is responsible. If you choose to do nothing and let the morale drop, you're responsible. If you choose to do something and make the morale get better, you're responsible. And that's what it's about. We're all responsible for this great thing about getting morale out there. So it's important to have these things. So one big thing I like to talk about in this class especially is the fact that every single comm center, and I don't care where you are, every single comm center out there is going to be going through some big changes in the next few years. Now, I'm not talking technical because that's going to happen anyway. I mean, the technical advances are going to be unbelievable. When I started back in 1990, I guarantee it was nothing compared to what it is today. I mean, when I started, we had hardly anybody had cell phones. We had a DOS CAD system. So a lot of stuff out there. And everybody in my world was using pagers, right? Because pagers, some younger people don't even know what the heck that even is, but the beepers and pagers were awesome. So, but by the time I went to retire after 30 years, I mean, the whole job had changed, and it's going to change again. And here's a big change that's coming to a comm center near you. Baby boomers, like myself, are going to be leaving the workforce in droves by 2029. Listen to that, 2029, sorry, 2022. By 2029, all baby boomer people will have reached retirement age. And then for the next 10 years, an estimated 10,000 boomers are going to retire every single month. 56% of those are going to be in leadership positions. So that tells me who's taking over. Who's going to be the next group of leaders? And one quick thing about baby boomers, the baby boomer generation is the largest workforce in the United States. So when all of these baby boomers leave, they're going to walk out the door with something. They're going to walk out the door with experience, knowledge. They've done it before. They've got things. How many of you use that resource sitting right in front of you to say, maybe I should capture that information before they go? I'll give you an example. In the psychological world, it's called harvesting experiences. And harvesting doesn't mean like corn. It means getting those experiences from somebody before it's too late, before they've walked out that door for the last time and we forgot to get all that information from them. A good rule of thumb is I always try to put new people with a senior person, not to train, but just to kind of talk about what's happened and what experiences they've had, because maybe they've had some pretty cool experiences and we can use that kind of stuff. This person on the screen right here is my friend Marcia. Marcia worked about 35 years on the job, and Marcia was getting ready to retire about a week from the day this happened. So I'm at a comm center working, and this is not too long ago, probably less than 10 years ago, and I'm training a new dispatcher on the radio. And I'm working in the comm center, and I'm training because I just didn't have anybody else to train. I was training myself, so as a supervisor. So I'm training this new person on the radio, and our officer does this thing we call a roller. And a roller for us is where the officer's just rolling along the highway, and he wants to run the tag on the vehicle in front of him. Now, he could have done it on his car easily, but he chose to run it on the air with me. And when I got the information, I've realized why he did that. Because, and no offense to anybody, it was a Canadian plate. And if you've ever run a Canadian plate, the return on it is not the same as most of them. So I'm looking at the screen. I'm going line by line looking for words like valid, current, registration date, something so I can give it to him and let him go. And a little while later, he comes on the radio and says, any return on that? And as a good dispatcher, I said, NCIC is slow. What do you think I was going to say? I was like, oh my gosh, I don't know how to read this thing. So my trainee's asking me, what do we do? And I'm like, hold on. So I turned around and I asked everybody in the room, does anybody know how to run a Canadian roller or a Canadian plate? And Marcia goes, yeah, I do. Hold on. And she brings up this big old binder, opens it up, flips out a page, gives it to me. And it has a bunch of handwriting on it saying, look at this, look at that, look at these things. And I go, oh my gosh, perfect. So I gave it to the officer and he goes away. And I said, Marcia, will you make me and my trainee a copy of this thing? And she goes, yeah, no problem. So I hand it back to her and I turn around to talk to my trainee and I could see Marcia's reflection in my screen. And I'm like, why is she still standing behind me? So I turn around to look at her and she's crying. And I'm like, Marcia, what is wrong? Well, are you okay? And she said, you know what, Doug? Nobody's ever asked me for this stuff. And I'm like, wait a minute. When you retire in a week, what are you going to do with that big old huge binder you've got? She was probably throw it in the trash. And I'm like, oh, hell no. I want it all. I want the entire thing out there. And she starts crying. She's like, nobody's ever asked me for this stuff. And I said, Marcia, I want that big book that you've collected 35 years of experience in that booklet that she would have walked out the door with and threw in the trash. And I said, no. And we took all that information, made copies of this whole thing for everybody, so we all had it. And it had some cool stuff in there, all kinds of things I've never even heard of. And I've been on a long time myself. And I'm like, oh my gosh. But I ask you, does your agency encourage you to share information? Because so many times I see people make these big binders like that, and nobody asks them, could I have a copy of that? Can I see this? Or if you're the one making the binder, do you say, hey, everybody, you want my copies of this? Do you want this kind of stuff? Here, I've collected this for 35 years. Take it. That's what I'm talking about, this sharing and reaping the benefits of knowledge using all available resources. The people sitting next to you probably have some cool stuff, but we have to learn to share it with each other. And I'm hoping your agencies will actually say, you know what? Yeah, we have to share this information. I want everybody on the same page. I don't want one person to have all the information. And when I got to that center, which I only transferred to that center probably a week or two before this actually happened, I didn't know the marsh had been on that long or had all that information, but damn it. Once we found out, we started harvesting it. And that's what you should be doing to get that kind of knowledge out there. So I try to remind people of when they say they're doing time in dispatch, like, oh my gosh, I try to remind people why you're actually there. And one of the things I do is I do this. Do you remember how long it took you to get hired? Think back to when you got hired. Now, in my world, in the Highway Patrol, it takes about a year. It's by the time we do the interviews, or they do the test, then the interviews, then the backgrounds and the psychologicals and all this other stuff, it takes about a year to get you through the door. It's a long process. It's a state job. Of course, it's very complicated and a lot of bureaucracy in it, but that's the way it is. But think about that. If it took a long time for you to get hired, okay, then think about this. Remember when you completed that application and submitted it, and you said, they haven't called yet. They haven't done anything yet. I don't know if I filled it out right. I'm not sure if I did it correctly or not. What did I do with it? Oh my, you need to think about this stuff. How about this one? Remember when you got the call to come to your interview? Oh my gosh. Do you remember telling your friends and your family, oh my God, I got to go to an interview. I don't know what I'm going to say. What if they ask me this? What should I say to that? What should I respond with? What should I wear? And then you remember pulling into the parking lot? When you pulled into the parking lot to do your interview and you're thinking, oh man, I'm hoping I'm all right. I think I'm dressed okay. I'm going to go in. And when you go in, whether it was a panel or 2 or 3 people on the interview panel, think to yourself, you know, when you're sitting there and you got that interview down, and remember when, this is the best part. Remember when you were interviewing and they asked you that one question? Remember that one question when they said, hey, why do you want to be in public safety? And remember your response? I love sharing and helping people and working together and America. Now, I say, oh my gosh, that's so great. But what happened a few years from then? Then you're like, I hate the public. I hate people. It's like, I try to tell people, hold on to that excitement, that anxiety, that thrill of being hired. How about when they called you and said, hey, we're going to go ahead and hire you. I want you to start on this date. Remember how excited you were? Remember that? Remember when you told your friend, oh my God, I just got hired. I'm going to be working over there. Can you believe it? Think about how excited you were. It used to be the best thing when I would call people and tell them, hey, it's Doug from the Highway Patrol, and we're going to go ahead and hire you. Can you start on this date? And you'd hear people going, oh my God. And it's like, I always tell them, hold on to that experience. Hold on to that anxiety. I certainly don't want you coming to work and hating everybody after a couple of years. So I want you to hold on to that anxiety. And try to remind you of these things. If you haven't done that before, think about it. What about your first day? Your first day when you walked through the door with everybody and said, hey, I'm here. Did everybody stand up and give you a standing ovation? Thank you. Thank you for coming. Or not. What was your first day like? Think about this. I mean, I always try to tell people about your first day is the most impressionable day. The first time you walk in. So what we started doing at the center I used to work at, before I retired, was we said, hey, you know what? We're going to put up some signs when somebody starts. So I would get there about 6 o'clock in the morning. And we put up signs on the door saying, welcome to the Highway Patrol with their name on it and stuff. And then inside the comm center, my wife would make some cupcakes. And on the cupcakes, we'd have a little sign saying, welcome to the Highway Patrol. You're 911 now. You're going to save lives, all this kind of stuff. And it was great. We put the thing of cupcakes out with the poster saying, welcome to the Highway Patrol. And so we were just waiting for them to get there at 8 o'clock. They would come in at 8. I got there at 6. So I was waiting for them to get there. Side note, when we had the cupcakes and the trays sitting out there, we had tons of officers hanging out in dispatch going, hey, can I have a cupcake? And I'm like, can you wait an hour till she gets here? Just hold on. So when that person walks through that door, the very first minute that they're working for us, when they walk in that hallway and they see that sign on the door that says, welcome to the Highway Patrol, what do you think they're thinking? Wow, they really do want me here. And then they come through the door and they see cupcakes sitting right there with a little sign above it saying, welcome to the Highway Patrol. And all these officers hanging out in there going, hey, we're glad you're here. Can we have a cupcake? It's that impression, that first impression that keeps that excitement still going, that I want you to be there. So many times I hear people say, when I started, I walked in, nobody said anything. Nobody knows my name. I just walked in. That's sad. That's really sad to have that kind of thing. We want everybody to remember your first day is important. And I want your training and everything to go from that first day to be kicked off with excitement. Yes, I'm glad to be here. Yes, I'm glad I gave up everything to work here. So consider that kind of stuff. I mean, after struggling to get this job and going through the interviews and the backgrounds and all these other things, shouldn't this be an enjoyable experience? Shouldn't this be the job that you tell people about and they go, oh my gosh, really? That sounds so cool. Wow. It should be. But so many of us that work for dispatch tend to focus on the negative things. It's too light. It's too dark. It's too cold. It's too hot. I don't like that window. I don't like working with this person. I don't like doing these things. I don't like the carpeting. It's like we're so focused on looking for terrible things or negative things that we forget the great things that we do out there. We forget it. And we have to kind of remember these things and say, man, I do enjoy this job out there. So now, if you read the directions of this class, or not the direction, but the title of this class, it talks about my unique approach to customer service. Because I've heard this term forever, and I've been to many, many customer service classes with the department stuff. And I thought maybe we should redefine that compound term of customer service, because I really don't think customer service applies to dispatch. I really don't think it does. I say service absolutely applies, but we don't have customers because we don't have a loyalty program. We don't offer sales or a buy one, get one. I hope not. We don't have a repeat business. Sometimes they do. And we don't offer coupons. That's a business. That's customers. That's building our customer base in there. So I try to take out the customer part of this thing and just leave the word service, because that's what our main goal is. We are providing an important and essential service to people. I went to a customer service class one time, and this crazy guy teaching the class was talking about, put a smile in your voice. And I'm like, I've had suicides. I've had shootings. I've had horrible incidents on 911. I certainly am not going to be, hi, how are you? Did you kill yourself today? We're not going to do that. We have to consider it's service. You wouldn't go to a funeral home and the guy's sitting there trying to sell you a casket with a big smile. Hi, how are you today? Because it's not that kind of business. We offer a service. I say agencies should be inspiring integrity, professionalism, and respect. But a lot of them don't fit into the customer service models. That's why we talk about service. I mean, I think we should think of our community as the people we're sworn to protect and serve, just not necessarily customers. And I think that kind of misnomer of customers kind of drifts into our business, and it kind of messes things up a little bit. So I try to always focus just on the service side of it. Let me ask you this. How's your attitude? Have you become part of those negative, pessimistic people that make our job way more difficult? Or do you still have pride in your career? And maybe you're someplace in the middle, swaying either way, depending on who you're working with, because we all know who you're working with makes a big difference. I'll give you an example. So I used to have to call people to come in. If somebody was called out sick for morning watch, I would have to call people and say, hey, can you come to work? And their first question to me was, who am I working with? And it's like, it doesn't matter who you're working with. Can you come in? And they're like, well, Doug, who am I working with today? Who is it? And I'm like, it doesn't matter. You can come to work. Can you make it or not? And they would say, I've been drinking. And I'm like, wait a minute, it's 4:00 in the morning. You're drinking. I'm concerned about your safety. So it's like, because we all know who you're working with makes a big difference. And that's why it's everybody's responsibility to keep that morale up. Not just yours, not just theirs. It's everybody's responsibility to keep that stuff up. We shouldn't want to run away from our job or hide or pull the parking lot going, oh God, there's Bill's car. Here we go. Hold on, everybody. We don't want to do that kind of stuff. I mean, how about this? Now that I live in Tennessee, I'm required to know Dave Ramsey. I'm just kidding, but he's very, very big here in Tennessee. Dave Ramsey, if you don't know who he is, check him out on YouTube. You'll see a lot of great stuff he talks about. But a lot of stuff he talks about for his business world is very appropriate for our world. He talks about if you stay at a job you dislike and then constantly complain about it, that says a lot about you. I mean, nobody wants to work 30 years at a job they hate. And they're like, I finally made parole. I'm out of here after 30 years. That's crazy. That says a lot about you and your loyalty and your responsibility to say, why would I stay at a job I absolutely hate? Now, some people who hate their job are saying, well, I'll just wait for somebody to come along, new supervisor, new manager, new director who can make it better. That's crazy. Dave says maybe you should step up and make some positive changes, including in your own attitude. Think about what the attitude you have is. I mean, he goes on to say your ethics are you're loyal to the one who pays you. If you can't be loyal to the one who pays you, then you need to change somebody you can be loyal to. That's about character. And I'm like, when I heard him saying this in one of his podcasts, I thought this fits Dispatch so well. It's perfect for us. It comes into what we're talking about. And that's the thing to think about. You wouldn't think of Dave Ramsey with Dispatch, but what he's talking about, his message fits, and it totally fits in there. I mean, when you have loyal, committed, engaged employees, I mean, they're more likely to invest in their work, innovating new ideas, prepared to go the extra mile to make it better. You all know when you get new furniture or new carpeting or new radios or new CAD or whatever, it's difficult. I know that. But when you got people that are loyal and committed to the job, they'll make it work. They'll say, you know what? All right, let's try this. Let's make it do this. Let's try these things. And that's what it's about. It's about doing those kinds of things out there. So once you got employees that are committed and engaged to the job and loyal to it, you'll stop this terrible thing of hiring, training, somebody quit, hiring, training, somebody quit. It's like we need to stop that kind of, we need to build retention up. So one thing I like to remind you of is this, pretty simple. What are those things made possible for you by working at your agency? A lot of times we don't even think about this stuff because we're so focused on the negative things of our job. We're not thinking of the good things that come with our job. So I'll help you out. Here are some of the really good things about our job. You get a paycheck, and a paycheck probably is making more than most people out there. And the paycheck comes with benefits and retirement and all these other things it comes with. That's a guaranteed check. You're probably not going to go out of business because you're going to have that paycheck coming in. With that paycheck, you can buy a house, depending on where you live. I couldn't buy a house in California where I lived, but once I got to Tennessee, I bought a house. Now, the house I'm sitting in right now is being paid for by the California Highway Patrol. My retirement is paying for this house. And that couldn't have happened unless I did that. I worked at that agency. And that's what I'm talking about. You could buy a cool car if you want. And the cool car has been bought by your work at this agency. You could start a family if you'd like. Retire if you want. You got a good retirement coming in. Paid vacations. The security of knowing I'm probably not going to lose my job by going out of business. We're probably going to stay in business for a long time here. And finally, knowing what you do makes a difference. I hope this kind of reminds you of what's good about our job. What's the good things made possible by us working here and providing that great service to the public. Now, are there some negative things about the job? Yeah, there are. Missing kids' recital, missing being late for Christmas, the holidays, things like that. Those are some negative things out there, surely. But I don't think any of those outweigh the other things. When you pull in your driveway tonight and you open that garage and you drive in, you think this house is because of where I work. This house is being paid for because of what I do. And maybe I should have a sense of loyalty to that place and say, you know what? They could have hired anybody else, but they hired you. They could have hired anybody. I'm sure they had a big list of people they could have hired, but they took a chance and they said, no, you're the one we want. You're the person we want to hire. I hope you think about that and think, man, I really should have some loyalty to these people that took that chance to help me and get this job. It's important to have these things. And P.S., I used to work all the holidays like Christmas and New Year's and stuff like that for a really good reason. I didn't do it because I'm, this guy. I did it because what happens on holidays? Potlucks. Yeah, I know. It's great. So, but how about this? How about agencies that let somebody who's got really bad behavior still work? Because they say, Doug, I know they don't get along with anybody and they're really a bear to work with, but when all hell happens, they're a really good dispatcher. And I'm like, no, you have to be a full round of things. You have to be good with interpersonal relations and be a good dispatcher and follow policies. It's not, I can do one thing and that makes it. Oh, we need to say, wait a minute. I mean, that's why part of our critical tasks for the Highway Patrol was interpersonal relations. We grade you on that. We rated you on that because it's so important. You can't be a nightmare at work. And just because you're a good dispatcher, you're like, oh, forget everything else. It doesn't work like that. My favorite show is Undercover Boss, Undercover Boss show. But I always try to think to myself, wait a minute. Do you think that's the first time somebody's acted like that? Just happens to be on camera? Or do you think this person's been allowed to be dysfunctional for their entire career and now it's just coming out? We all see it. It's like we have to think about that kind of thing. So it's important to have this stuff. Being optimistic, it's essential to your success. It's easy to go downhill and say, I hate everything. It's terrible. Nothing works. I got it. It's terrible for that kind of stuff. It's harder to go uphill and say, hold on, even though we got some bad things happening, we're going to still keep moving forward. We're going to still keep going towards the good things out there. I mean, negativity is so contagious. You know it and I know it. If somebody starts complaining, oh my God, isn't it too dark in here? Isn't it? It's way too dark. And everybody's like, yeah, it's too dark. Well, you just became part of that problem. And we don't want to have that either. How about this one? Agency expectations. Every time I ask people in classes, what are the expectations of your agency to you? And everybody's like, oh, they told us when we got hired what they are, but I don't see them anymore after that. My thing is agencies should be talking about their expectations all the time. All the time. So there is no misunderstanding. There's no, I thought there's okay with this. I thought we could do these things. They should be talking about their expectations all the time out there. And I always ask people, what does your agency expect from you? And when I ask it in classes, I'll get a lot of people, I don't know, come to work. Well, that's true. But what else do they expect from you? They expect you to do one big thing that starts with the letter R, and that's represent. They want you to represent that agency with every interaction you have. You're representing that agency. You're the one who's on the phone call talking to this person who's upset or crying or whatever's gone on in their life. You're the one who's doing that. They don't know, oh, Bill helped me on the phone. No, they say that department helped me so much. So you're representing that entire agency with what you do out there. I mean, how about this? What do you expect from your agency? When I ask people that, a lot of people go, I don't know. And I'm like, I expect they give you the right protocols in place, the right programs in place, the right training, that they give you these things from your agency. If you've never had these conversations, this two-way conversation with your agency, maybe it's time we started. Maybe it's time we said, wait a minute, let me go and find out what my agency wants from me and what do I expect from them. And sometimes it just surprised me. We have no communication when it comes to this kind of thing. We should definitely have that kind of communication. Here's another thing that your agencies usually put in place for you to tell everybody else what we expect. It's your expectations. It's your mission statement. It's your core values. It's your vision statement. I mean, if you ever have a class with me, then you probably know that I ask about this a lot. What is your mission statement? Because if you don't know what it is, or you say, I don't know, it says something about helping people or something, I don't know. That's not good. We should all know what our mission statement says, right? We should all understand what it means. This is our agency telling us, we expect this from you. And that's why when I was in charge of our state training program, and every time we had a new class of new dispatchers, we went over and over and over the mission statement, because I want you to know what's expected of you by the department, what the department expects from you. And that's what I'm talking about with these things. And I ask this in classes all the time, and I always hear people saying, I don't know, it's just something about service or something. And I'm like, folks, you got to know what it says in order to understand. And side note, when I teach the training for trainers class, or CTO, whatever you want to call it, I always tell people, use your mission statement when you're training somebody. Just set it in front of you on a piece of paper right in front of you. I mean, every call you take, ask your trainee, did we live up to this? Did we live up to our expectations of our department, this mission statement? It's such a powerful tool to use, but a lot of people just don't even know what it even is. So I encourage you all, go find your mission statement. What about you? Think about the last day you were at work. Maybe you're at work today. Did you show any sign of disinterest, lack of enthusiasm, even negativity? You say, oh God, another day. I'm supposed to watch these podcasts or these video things. This is awful. Is that you? Do you see it in anybody else? I mean, once this apathy starts, it's going to take over. And that's why you cannot let this happen. From the very first slide today, who's responsible for my morale? You are. And we need to remember these things. Now, I'm going to date myself a little bit, but it's such a powerful thing to think about. If you remember back in the good old days when they had glass bottle Coke bottles, on the bottom of the Coke bottle itself, it had a little glass ring at the bottom and it said, no deposit, no return. Now, if you think of that and think, okay, well, I'm going to get a couple dollars or a couple pennies for this bottle, that's great. But I look at it this way. What deposits are you making into your career? If you plan on being here more than 5-10 years, you should probably start thinking, what do I want to invest in myself? Maybe I want to go read a book. Maybe I want to go listen to a podcast. Maybe I want to improve myself. Maybe I want to do different things. I want to improve myself and constantly keep doing it. Because if you don't make any deposits in your own career, you will have no return. You won't. You'll stay right where you are. You need to start making these deposits in your own career. It's the best investment you'll ever make. Because you can say, hey, maybe I want to be an EMP. Maybe I want to try to be a supervisor. Maybe I want to be a director. Whatever it is for you, think to yourself, I'm putting deposits in myself right now. I want to be that go-to person in my own department to where people say, man, go talk to them. They really know what's going on here. They got it. That's what I'm talking about with this no deposit, no return. Best investment you'll ever make. Please do that. Fighting complacency by setting goals. I mean, this kind of goes right along with the last slide, is how many of you set goals for yourself? And actually write them down and look at them every day going, oh, there's a goal. There's a goal. If you could see my desk that's right below me right here, you could see there's a little list of goals we have. I have goals in place. I mean, when we started our business, we had to have some goals in place. I wanted to make sure I had those. Goal setting shouldn't be a secret. It shouldn't be like, well, I keep it in a booklet that I have hidden. No, it should be out there so everybody sees it, goes, that's your goal. Maybe it's a vision board, maybe it's whatever, but whatever it is to you, what can you do with these things? I mean, why do you even set goals? It's kind of a roadmap or a blueprint to what you want to achieve and how you want to get it. Goals. So I'll tell you how I do it, and it works really easy. I try to do practical, realistic goals we can get in 6 months, 12 months, 24 months. And when you reach that goal and you did it, say, yes, my gosh, this is great, and set another goal for yourself. So then you know every day I'm working towards this. Maybe I'm going to listen to a podcast. Maybe I'm going to read a book. Maybe I'm going to go watch a conference. I'm going to do whatever it is for you, but it's investing in yourself. It's giving you that more investment value in yourself to say, I got it. Now, when we started our business, I remember my wife was saying, we need to start our business. And I'm like, oh, it sounds hard. It sounds difficult. I didn't get to get a lawyer. It's awful. So I went and bought the book that's on your screen right there called Starting a Business for Dummies. I read the book and was like, it doesn't look like it's that hard. So let's try it. So we set goals for ourselves. And man, we were making these goals. We set 6 months. We want to have a business license. In 4 months, we were part of the Chamber of Commerce and had a business license. And I'm like, it's not that hard to do. And it's like everybody here should be setting some kind of goals for yourself. Make yourself the most valuable person out there, investing in yourself. It's a big thing. How about this? This is a big one to me. Appreciation and gratitude. I mean, do you acknowledge people for doing something great? I mean, it's super easy to say, you did that wrong. You did that wrong too. You did that wrong. Really easy to do. Sometimes it's hard to just get above yourself and get away from the petty high school. I don't like them. I don't go to lunch with them because I don't like them and they don't like me. And it's like, forget that. Our job is way more important than that. And so if somebody does something good, even if you don't like that person, but you know they did something good, they really kicked ass or kicked something, they really did a good job. It's like, why don't you go tell them? Hey, I saw you did this last night. I thought it was pretty darn good. Good job. It's not that big a deal, but I'll tell you what, when you start pushing out positivity, it's going to create absolute magic out there. I mean, saying something positive, it isn't hard, but it can mean so much to somebody who's maybe feeling demotivated, disengaged. I don't want to do it anymore. I hate my job. Maybe they haven't had the accolades yet. Maybe they haven't been told what you do counts. And that's what it's about. I mean, how about this one? Who's influenced your career the most? The picture on your screen is Sandy. Sandy was my original trainer back in the good old days. I was her first trainee. She was my trainer. She'd been on about a year or so. And it's like, we had the best time ever. She taught me so many things that I thought to this day, I carry forward what she taught me and the way she did it. She made training fun and engaging and make me want to learn more things. And that's what it was about. It's about that kind of stuff. So let me ask you this. Have you ever told the person that hired you, thanks for hiring me? Maybe it's been 10, 15 years and you just forgot to do it. Do it today. Go and tell them. Now, the person who hired me was Jan. Jan hired me back in the day. Now, I remember telling Jan many times throughout my career, you started me on this thing. You saw something. And she goes, Doug, I saw something in you that I thought this guy can be a good dispatcher here. And unfortunately and sadly, Jan passed away about 2 months ago, but she knew because everybody that got hired by her had updated her Facebook forever saying, thank you for hiring us and putting us into this position, all that stuff. Sandy, the same way. Sandy's on my Facebook too. I mean, these are people that are important to your career. Have you told the person that trains you, hey, I didn't say it 5 years ago, but I meant to tell you, thanks for training me back in the day. I appreciate that. Sometimes we forget these things. We forget to be appreciative of what's going on. And don't just say, well, they know they're appreciated. Tell them. And don't make it a one-time thing where it's like, okay, I did it. Now what? And please don't do a backhanded compliment. You know what that is? That's what you tell. Good job on that call. Like I couldn't have done it. No, wait a minute. Just do it forward. Go forward. Don't go backward. It's all about choices. I mean, it's all about choices, what you got to do every day. Choosing to not address a bad situation or try to improve morale, it's a choice. I mean, if you don't make a choice, that's making the choice. You have a choice every single day and say, maybe I should make a little bit of a change of my own self. I'm going to give you the best advice that I never got, but I wish somebody would have told me back in the good old days. Because I've did some dumb things in my career. Not going to lie to you. If you saw my personnel jacket, you'd know that. And it's like, but if I would have had this advice back in the day, I probably wouldn't have done some of these dumb things I did back in the good old days. So listen up. Here's some great advice.
What is the most inspiring thing I ever said to you?
Don't be an idiot. Changed my life.
Whenever I'm about to do something, I think, would an idiot do that?
And if they would, don't do that
And if
thing.
they would, I do not do that thing.
My goodness, that is the best advice ever. Would an idiot do that? Ask yourself the next time you want to fight with somebody, or next time you want to be, idiotic and act like a child with somebody and complain about everything. Think to yourself, would an idiot do that? Then I'm not going to do that. And that's a perfect advice. I thought that was wonderful. I should have had that a long time ago. How about this in the power of mentoring? I think mentoring is so important. And some of us get it and we don't even think about it, what they get out there. But mentoring is so important because it'll help you gain confidence in the job. It'll help you provide that support and encouragement to somebody. I hope somebody's mentoring you, and I hope the heck you're mentoring somebody else out there and giving them a good thing. I'll give you an example. Back in the good old days when I started back in LA, once I got off training, I was pretty cocky. I mean, I was pretty much like, I got everything, whatever. And so I had kind of a cocky attitude and stuff. And I remember working with this lieutenant who told me, Doug, do you want to be like that the rest of your career and just complain about things and walk around like this? And I'm like, look, we have 1,300 dispatchers working for the Highway Patrol. What the hell am I going to do? I'm one. And she was working with me. And she did such a good job because probably a couple of years down the line, I said, maybe I should take the supervisor test. And she's like, I think you should. And she was helping me do it. And so I transferred at that point to a different comm center. And I took the test to be a supervisor. I passed and I promoted back to Los Angeles. And when I got back to Los Angeles, I was walking around one of the supervisors showing me my office, which was basically just a cubicle. But I walked into the office and I'm like, oh my gosh, on my desk was nothing except one thing, a phone. And the phone had that little red light flashing. And I'm like, who the hell left me a message? I didn't even know I'm here yet. So I listened to the message and guess who it was? It was that lieutenant. And she goes, see, Doug, positive attitude changes everything. And I'm like, damn. Fast forward probably 10 years later. Now we're still friends, me and that lieutenant. Periodically I talk to her or whatever. And it's like, but I get asked to take over the statewide training program, move up to Sacramento, do all this stuff. So I go up to Sacramento, I take the job, and I go up there, and I'm walking around with one of the sergeants that works up there, and he's showing me the area. Well, here's where you park. Here's where you do this stuff. And he goes, oh, there's your office right there. And so I go into my office, and really nothing on my desk except one thing. Yeah, a phone. And yeah, red light's flashing. And I'm like, what the heck? So I listen to the message, and guess what? It's her again saying, see, told you one person can make a difference. And I'm like, damn. And so when I talked to her after this, and her and I, we're both retired now. She retired as a captain. I'm retired. And so, but we're still friends with each other. And she's like, I saw something in you that you didn't see yourself. And I thought you can make a difference. And look what you did. And I'm like, damn, that's so good. So I encourage everybody to be a mentor to somebody. Go be a mentor. Go talk to people. Go help somebody out who's going through something. Here's somebody I bet you never, ever thought you'd hear in a dispatch class. John Taffer. You know the guy from Bar Rescue who's always screaming, shut it down. You know that guy? Well, guess what? If you see him in person, if you see him in person, he doesn't say that stuff. He said, that's for TV. But he's got such good business sense that you can take what he's talking about, like in that book, Raise the Bar. That talks about how to make a bar work, all that stuff. But there's stuff in that book. If you look for the messages right, you can say, I can take that and I can move that into dispatch and it works. And it's a good topic in there. So John says, the greatest gift of leadership is a boss who wants you to be successful and shows it. Because successful employees will make a successful business. Could we apply that to dispatch? Yeah. It's like, so I ask you, how do you show someone you want them to be successful? How do you do it? Whether you're training somebody or you're just in the room with somebody who's struggling a little bit, or maybe you're a supervisor, how do you tell that person, I want you to be successful? Not just necessarily tell them, but how do you make it out there that this person, I want them to be successful? So I came up with a couple of things out there. This is an easy exercise, works really well. You find a blank wall at your comm center someplace, you give everybody Post-it notes, and you tell everybody, hey, look, your job is when you're at work every day is to come up with 2 new ideas, plans, or strategies to make our center better. That's it. 2 new ideas, plans, or strategies to make our place better. Now, obviously tell people, take out getting a new building, brand new chairs, or a $5,000 raise. Probably not going to happen. But what are those things that can make our center better that really don't cost very much, but it's something that can really make a difference out there? It's something to think about. Think about what could this be? So you get people to thinking, and they put these on the wall, they put them up there, and you encourage everybody from the brand new person to the most senior person. Everybody participates. They've got to come up with these 2 new ideas, plans, and strategies up there. And when you see something you like, you put a little check mark next to that Post-it note. Once there's enough checks next to it, the toughest part of this job is actually trying some of these things. Now, here's the thing. Is everything they put on the wall going to be great? No. Are there going to be some really, oh my God, that's not even possible? No, there will be. But think of your favorite songwriter. Do you really think your favorite songwriter walked in their house one day and said, hey, y'all, I'm going to go write a gold record, be right back? No. Do you think there's like a box in their closet someplace where they got all these songs that are really not so good? But through that exercise, they found a gold one. They found one that works. This is the same principles with this, and it works. And it also, side note, psychological part of this thing is it gets people thinking positive. What are those things we can do to make it better? What are those things I could do to make the center better? Instead of walking around thinking about negative, it's now getting people thinking about positive. And you put this up on the wall. Now, the hardest part is actually taking one of these down and trying it and say, let's give it a shot. And be fair about it. Say, hey, let's give it a fair shot. Don't just say, that's never going to work. That's never going to work. And I'm like, that's crazy. Now, I did this in a class in another state, and I had a supervisor sitting in the front row. And she tells me, Doug, I already do this. And I'm like, you do? That's so great. Wow, that's wonderful. And she goes, yeah, I have a box, and it's got a lock on it, and it's sitting on my door. People putting stuff in there, and then I'll go look at it later. And I said, that's the worst idea possible. And she goes, what? And I'm like, I want everybody to see them. I want everybody walking by this wall of ideas going, I like that. Oh, can we try that? Maybe this. How about that? I want everybody's input into this thing. Now, I'll tell you what, some people have changed it, and I really like the way they changed it. They said, not only look for 2 new ideas, plans, or strategies to make our center better, but how about kudos? And how about support? How about putting a note up there saying, hey, thanks for trading days with me, or thanks for doing this for me. And so when you're looking at the board, you see this, you're, oh, look at that. That's nice. I like that. Positivity. Power of positivity is working right there. So it's important to think about these things. I mean, my wife worked for a bank. She was a dispatcher in Maryland for about 10 years, but she works for a bank now. And she took the idea of the Post-it notes and kind of moved it a little bit into something that they could do. They had some people that maybe weren't that positive at work, but they said, how do we get them to identify things that are to be thankful for? So they put up this paper at work, and she told everybody, you have to put something on here every time you come in here. Good things that you're thankful for, whatever it is. Who cares if it's a TV show, great meal, whatever. It's just something to be grateful for, and they're right up on the wall. And it really has changed a lot of things out there. That's the thing. Anything you can do to kind of make it a more positive experience is something you can do. It's such a simple little task. Does that cost very much? No. Paper, that's about what it costs, not much. I mean, we talk about, one of the things I really try to talk about is I'm a huge believer in fate. I don't think any of y'all just kind of fell into dispatch. I think you're here for a reason. I think that call that you answered was geared for you. I think those things you do are for you. I mean, I don't think any of us have thought, oh, I hate this job, whatever. I think when you log on to that phone system and you get your first call, that's fate. That's telling you should have been on that call. You're the one we wanted on that call. I just love that kind of philosophy because I've had some pretty horrific calls in my career, really horrible calls. But I think I'm glad I was the one that took it. I'm glad I was the one that was there for this person. And maybe that was the thing they just wanted to hear, my last, me talking to them. That was it. And that's why I think, when you see this saying that from Mark Twain on the screen right now, it says the two most important days in your life are the day you're born and the day you find out why. And that's the big thing. I think for many of us, the why has been answered. We're doing 911. We're saving lives out there. We're doing this stuff. And we should be proud of what we do and think, man, what I do is so awesome. I have this kind of experience out there. And that's what it should be. It's important to think about these things. I mean, let me back up and just tell you a little thing on this. Give you an example. So I went to go teach a class at a very large fire department in Los Angeles County. Hint, hint. So I'm training a class at the fire department, and I'm talking to the battalion chief, and I said, hey, I would love to go listen to somebody doing EMD. I don't do EMD. It looks really hard to do. I can't imagine doing it. It just looks difficult. And he goes, oh, yeah. He goes, hey, we got a new dispatcher, just got off training. It's like her first week off training. You can sit with her. And I'm like, okay, great. So I go out and I sit with her. And she's like any new person. She's putting Post-it notes all over her position, reminding her of certain things. And she's doing all this stuff. And so she's doing, and while she's doing it, she's talking to me. And she's going, oh, my God, I was at the mall the other day. And I was walking around. And I'm like thinking to myself, oh, man, please just answer the phone calls because, wow. So she finally gets ready. We answer the first call. First call she takes is a guy choking. And it's his kids on the phone. He's like 14 or 15 years old, something like that. And you hear the guy in the background, oh, and he's like, my dad's choking. And she goes, listen to me. Do this, do this, do this. Come on, you can do this. You can do it. Do this, do this, do this. Finally, you hear the dad going, oh, my God. Oh, my God. And she's like, sir, paramedics are at your door right now. Let them in. They come in, that everything's done. She hangs up and she turns back to me and goes, and then I went to the mall. And I'm like, do you realize what you just did? And she's like, what? And I'm like, that guy's life was right there. And you stepped in and saved his life. And she goes, oh my God, I never really thought about it. I said, I know. We don't think about it, but we don't think about the difference that we make every single day in this job. And I remember just seeing her face was just so like, I never really thought about it. I was just doing what I'm supposed to do. And I'm like, that's the power of what we have. And we need to kind of consider that stuff and think, wow, that's powerful to think about. So it's to me, it's like these emotional connections to our job. And I'm sure many of you have met people who you've helped on 911, and some of you probably haven't, or many of you probably haven't. And it's like, but when you meet that person, you see that person, you think they're alive because of me. I mean, I went to a comm center in Wisconsin, and I'm walking with the director of 911, and we're walking down this hallway heading to the dispatch center. And on this side of the wall was all these just cheap paper cutout hearts, just paper cutout hearts taped to the wall. And on this side, there was little cheap, just paper cutout storks on the wall. And I'm like, damn, your people like to get married and have a lot of damn kids. And she goes, no, Doug, these are people that they've saved with EMD for heart attacks. And these are babies they've delivered on 911. And I'm like, holy cow. I mean, when you walk in that room every single day, every dispatcher has to walk down that hallway. When you walk through that and you see that and you think to yourself, these people are alive because of you. These people are having families, having experiences, doing things because of you. That's an unbelievably powerful statement. And I think that's just so great when I see that kind of thing and honoring dispatch folks. So it's important. I mean, I'll tell you what, I'm a big history person. I like to end most of my classes like this, but I talk about changing history. Can you change someone's history? Now you're thinking, wait a minute, Doug, we don't have a DeLorean where we can do this. I'm like, you don't need that. because a lot of people have a misconception of what history actually is. History isn't just those things that already happened. History is still being written. All those great things haven't happened yet. That's just history waiting to be written down. That's all it is. It's stuff that's coming in. And that's where you step in. You're that fork in the road that says, hey, hold on, come this way and I'll save your life. And that's where they were heading in this direction, going in a bad way. And you stepped in and said, no, come this way. That's how you can change somebody's history. I mean, it's been written every single day and rewritten all the time. You're that signpost. You've been all given a great gift, and sometimes it doesn't feel like a gift, but damn it, it is a gift. It's a gift to handle these kind of calls and make a difference in so many lives all the time. And we sometimes forget the power that we have, that we're changing somebody's possible history by you answering that call saying, I've got it. I'm here. I can do this. I mean, if you've seen any of our classes and you see the bottom of our screen all the time, it talks about leave a legacy. Legacy to me is one of the most important things that a lot of people don't remember. I mean, you influence a lot of people and have an impact on more people than you ever realize. I mean, during the class, I shared with you some people that made a difference in my life. Jan, who hired me. Sandy, who trained me, and that lieutenant who encouraged me with her support. What about you? Can you list those people? Can you tell those people that they made a difference to you? That they made that difference to what you can do out there? It's important to kind of understand you're building that legacy all the time out there. Now, we are almost Christmas time right now, so it's a couple weeks away, and you're probably going to see this movie a million darn times. But the movie to me, and I know some people don't like this movie, but it's like you're missing the point. The point of the movie is that how much of an impact one person has on an entire town. And that's when you see this movie, It's a Wonderful Life. And George Bailey says, I think I should just not even ever been born. And they let him see what it's like if he'd never been born and all the changes he impacted. Same thing with you. You impact so many people and you don't even realize it sometimes. Maybe that person other than that line just needed somebody to say, it's okay. Maybe that coworker needed somebody to say, hey, you did a good job on that. Maybe that's a thing. That's a difference that you make every single day. So it's important to have these things. I mean, I always try to remind people, you're not just doing time and dispatch. You're making a difference and building a lasting legacy. And I'll tell you what, with legacy with me is very important that I talk to you about legacy. I wear this bracelet all the time that says leave a legacy on it because it just reminds me every time I answer the phone, every time I do things, I'm building that legacy. I want people to walk away from this class saying, I can make a difference. And I'm going to try some of these things to make that difference. So I definitely appreciate your time with everybody. I'm sure Ricardo's out there someplace listening in, but it's like we should be just about complete. And I appreciate your time. Please go check us out on, we're all over the place. You go to showaltercompany.com. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok even, for God's sakes. We're all over the place out there. And just check us out, showaltercompany.com. And you can see all of our classes that we offer and all these kinds of things. So I appreciate your time. Thank you very much, everybody. Somebody's here.
We don't know yet.
Thank you.
Ricardo.
Yes. Hold on. Here we go. So thank you, man, very, very much. The sessions are amazing as always. And everybody who's here watching, please make sure to check out everything that Doug is doing with Showalter and Company and his amazing wife, Jill. They do amazing work, leaving a legacy. And make sure to check out We Speak Dispatch. They got some good stuff there. It's amazing.
Thank you for that, Ricardo. I appreciate it.
Yes, of course. I'm doing double duty here, so everyone. Yeah, the next session is going to be coming up around 10 o'clock. We've got a couple other sessions that are still going right now, so then we'll get through those. And yeah, thank you again very much. We'll see you guys in the next one.
Thanks very much, everybody. Thank you.